Have you ever heard the thing you shouldn't have? The voice of the person you loved most, now cold as a blade. Just one button. The ventilator stops. Clara Thompson heard every word, trapped and helpless in her paralyzed body. She was carrying an 8-week-old life, a secret she couldn't share, and the proof of her husband's artifact smuggling. He didn't just want the $5 million company, he wanted the only witness erased. 97% hope was gone. But what Nathan didn't know, Clara still heard everything. From the deep darkness, a race for life began, not just to survive, but to protect her unborn baby and expose a horrifying crime. Could a woman with locked-in syndrome beat a killer in her final 7 days? If you've ever been betrayed and had to fight for the most sacred things, hit subscribe now. Join us to witness this extraordinary payback. Comment protect to show your support. Nathan had no idea. Clara had heard it all. And from the suffocating darkness, a plan to flip the script began. For Clara, the world was blurry noise. The steady beep of the ICU machines, the sliding doors, kids singing faintly outside. It was nothing like the acoustic festivals on La Jolla Beach she used to love. Then, Nathan's voice cut through. Nathan, her husband of 8 years. She still couldn't grasp how she got there. One minute she was teaching third-grade math, chalk in hand, tired from late nights working on the company. The next, everything went black. The doctor told her mom on FaceTime it was a stroke, a sudden brain bleed. A vessel popped. Clara never saw it coming. She didn't remember falling, only waking up in the dark, in the silence, in a body that wasn't hers. Those first days she heard little. The soft tap-tap of the heart monitor, the nurse's shoes squeaking on the vinyl floor, then her mom's voice, shaking on the phone, a blend of hope and dread. Clara, sweetie, if you can hear me, I'm here. We all love you. Please just wake up. Clara wanted to run to her, grab her hand, scream that she was alive, but she could only yell inside her head. Then Nathan came. She knew his cologne before his footsteps, expensive sandalwood, carefully chosen, like everything he did. He greeted the nurse warmly, thanked the doctor, and sat beside her, stroking her hair like he did when people were watching. "Hey, babe," he whispered, his voice smooth like an acoustic song at a La Jolla festival. He immediately took a picture of their hands, posted it to Instagram with Clara Strong, "Praying for my love, fight hard." He told the nurse about a local church fundraiser, his voice catching, like an actor nailing a scene. "She's so strong, she'll get through this." That day, a tear silently slid down Clara's temple. Not because she believed him, but because for one desperate second, she hoped he still loved her. By the 3rd week, Clara sensed the shift. Nathan's visits were shorter, his touches were colder. She heard his quiet sighs, like every second beside her was a weight he didn't want to carry. He started talking when he thought no one was listening. He didn't check the room because he believed she was unresponsive. And those words changed everything. "Your education company is bleeding money, Clara. You left no bank passwords. Nothing." His voice had zero affection, just pure annoyance. Clara believed in Nathan. She thought they built everything together. The $5 million nonprofit, her life's dedication to helping thousands of kids in San Diego, the place where she used to dream under the shimmering stars. She brought him into her world when all he had was ambition. Now she was locked in the dark, and he was counting the days until he could seize her creation. She heard him mutter, his voice low like waves hitting the rocks. If she'd just vanish, this would all be so much easier. Then one day, he leaned down, his breath cold on her ear. "I wish you'd just die already, Clara. That $5 million education company is going to be mine and Jessica's. The doctors are meeting next week to pull the plug. You only have 7 days left." As Nathan's footsteps faded, Clara felt a faint tremor in her body, not from terror, but from a blinding truth. She was 8 weeks pregnant. The secret she'd planned to announce at their anniversary dinner was now her absolute reason to live. Her heartbeat was a double beat now. In the darkness, she vowed to protect this baby, no matter the cost. She couldn't tell her mom. She couldn't blink. Dr. Evans, the quiet doctor, visited often. His voice was calm, steady, like moonlight on the San Diego ocean. He talked to her mom about neurological response and sensory stimulation. Once, she heard him say patients like her might still hear everything despite being unresponsive. Her mom clung to that like a life raft. Her dad, quieter, just held her hand tight, saying nothing. Clara wanted to squeeze back, just once, but she couldn't. Nathan still came, still played the loving husband. He brought deep red tulips, sighed dramatically. But when the room was empty, his mask dropped, his eyes cold as a predator. Slowly, everything Clara believed about him crumbled. She thought betrayal was sharp, like a knife in the back. It wasn't. Sometimes it's slow, silent, and wearing your wedding ring. Nathan thought she couldn't hear or remember, but she did. Every word, every whisper, and she swore from the suffocating darkness he would pay. Nathan never missed a visit, not because he loved her, but because public perception mattered more. But that night, when the room was silent, Clara heard his icy whisper on the phone. "Just a few more weeks, Jessica? It'll all be ours." She's not waking up. Have you ever wondered who the person next to you really is? Nathan walked into the ICU with a perfect bouquet of red tulips, once a week, always fresh, always flawless. He walked through the hospital lobby, shoulders back, eyes just sad enough, nodding to the nurses with a practiced, minimal smile. Everyone thought he was the husband who'd never give up. But in the dark prison of Clara's mind, he was the man who had turned 8 years of love into a calculated contract. He sat by the bed, flipping through a children's math book Clara hated, his voice flat, like he was reading a bank report. He didn't hold her hand anymore, just a light touch on her wrist, just enough to look decent if someone walked in. Clara hated the feel of his fingers skimming her skin. It was cold, and she couldn't push him away. She hated hearing his every whisper, yet being unable to scream back. "How much longer are you going to make me wait, Clara?" he muttered, his voice a low growl, like waves crashing on the rocks. I remember clearly the day I understood what he truly wanted. Nathan showed up late, his shirt wrinkled, his breath reeking of whiskey and some cheap, unfamiliar perfume. No flowers, no greeting for the nurse. The devoted husband facade was completely gone. He grabbed my wrist, his fingers clamping down. "You think I just crave your $5 million company?" His voice was hoarse, full of menace. "It's your smartwatch I need. You recorded everything that night at the docks, didn't you? That wooden box holding $20 million worth of artifacts. You're the only witness left alive. Death by stroke would be so much cleaner than me admitting to smuggling." The brutal truth hit Clara like a bucket of ice water. The stroke wasn't fate. It was an assassination attempt. Then, thinking no one heard, he made a call, his voice low and deep. "She's not waking up, Jessica, my love. I need Clara's $5 million education company, the one supporting thousands of San Diego kids. It's just the two of us now, babe, and no one will ever suspect the model teacher." His triumphant laugh echoed, twisting like a knife in Clara's heart, tearing apart 8 years of what she innocently called love. Clara wanted to melt into the bedsheets, to vanish, just to stop hearing that sound of betrayal. But his voice drilled deep, relentlessly into her helpless mind. Hot tears silently tracked down her temples, the only visible sign of a tormented soul fighting to the very end. Every breath he took, every word he spoke to her mom over FaceTime, was carefully calculated. A performance perfect for Instagram, with the hashtag #ClaraStrong. "She's a fighter," he told her mom, his voice mournful, his head tilted at the perfect angle, like someone who had rehearsed the role of the devoted husband a dozen times. But when they were alone, he tilted his head, a slight smirk appearing, his eyes flashing like a man who'd just found buried treasure. "You should just give me the bank accounts, Clara. You think I can't run that education company without you?" Clara realized she was just a ladder he used to climb out of mediocrity. And once he was high enough, he looked down on her like she was a hindrance. At night, when the room was quiet, things became clearer. The steady beeping of the heart monitor, the ticking wall clock, her own faint breathing. A constant reminder that she was still alive, even though he wished she would disappear. One afternoon, she felt her mother's warm hand on hers. Mom spoke softly, her voice filled with that hope Clara once found tiresome but now clung to like air. "We are not giving up, my love. Nathan is doing everything he can. We all are." Clara wanted to scream, "No, Mom, he's doing nothing of the sort. He never was." But she could only lie there, listening to her mom place her trust in the man who was counting the days until she'd never wake up. Dr. Evans still checked on her every day. His voice was gentle, respectful, even when no one else was in the room. He wasn't rushed. He didn't look at her like an inanimate object, but like a person still in there, his eyes as soft as moonlight on the waves. When he told her mom, patients like Clara can still be conscious. Talking to her is vital. Clara felt an invisible thread pulling her closer to the world. He was trying, and she was too, even if her body refused to show it. But Nathan was losing patience. He didn't want hope. He wanted the end. And the longer Clara lived, the bigger the burden became. His impatience peaked one afternoon when, right after he left, Dr. Ida Evans walked in with Clara's mom on FaceTime. Evans's voice deepened, full of regret. "Ma'am, the latest quantitative MRI results show 97% of the brainstem cells are irreversibly damaged. Historically, no patient with Clara's level of injury has ever recovered. We should prepare ourselves for the worst." The doctor's words were a sledgehammer hitting Clara's mind. She wasn't just fighting Nathan. She was fighting a diagnosis with no escape. But Evans didn't leave right away. He stood still for a moment, looking directly at Clara. Unlike Nathan, his gaze wasn't cold, but held an incredible patience. He gently placed his hand on her forehead, not as a medical routine, but a silent gesture of comfort. "Even with just the 3% left," he said softly, looking into the camera, "I've seen miracles happen. We will not give up." This sentence planted a seed of belief in Clara's mind. A fragile seed, but enough to spark a question. Could that tiny 3% truly work a miracle, or was it just the final light before the eternal night? She started hearing Nathan's footsteps slowing down, like a man considering a final brutal plan. Then one night, everything changed. A new voice filled the room, quiet and warm. "Hi, I'm Mia. I'm going to be staying with you." Mia, Clara's younger sister, arrived during her summer break from art school, taking over care from Nathan, who always cited work obligations. Nathan, believing Clara couldn't know, managed a weak smile, his eyes flashing with relief, like a weight had just been lifted. Mia brought a drawing from her art class, gently placing it on the blanket, soft like the sound of waves on the San Diego shore, as if trying to pull her sister back to the world. But as Nathan left, Clara heard his whisper in the hallway. "Jessica, the little sister will help us end things sooner." Could a voice ever bring you back to life? That's what happened. It was a young girl's voice, filling the sterile, freezing ICU room. For the first time in weeks, I felt a tremor in my chest, not the machine's rhythm, but something warm and real. Mia whispered, her voice gentle as the twinkling lights over the ocean. "We're sisters, right? I don't want to lose you again." Her voice shook, terrified of losing me. I was so touched she kept showing up every single night, giving up her whole summer break. I heard her canvas sneakers squeak softly on the floor. Every step felt like a beat pulling me out of the dark. The jasmine perfume she wore was soft like the San Diego waves. Her words touched deep places Nathan never could. In that moment, I felt my heart flutter, like a door had finally cracked open in my mind. Mia returned every evening. Nurse Karen, she knew Mia from the community art class, let her stay late. I wasn't sure I even recognized her at first, but the room felt different. Her soft voice. "I'm here, sis. I brought this painting from art class. Thought you needed some color." I wanted to cry. I wanted to hug Mia and thank her for stepping up all summer, even though Nathan dumped the heavy responsibility on her. I just lay there, listening to her gently place the paper on the blanket. Mia came every night, an unspoken promise. She told me about her art class, the friend who spilled paint, the teacher who loved her lantern drawing, the days she thought I didn't need her anymore. Mia's voice carried a strange strength, like someone who'd already overcome too much. Every night, she ended with, "I'll be back tomorrow. I won't let you be lonely." And I wasn't alone anymore. It's weird, when your body shuts down, your mind clings to the small things. Mia's stories took root. I played them on loop in my head. Her soft laugh, her hopeful voice, like the twinkling stars over San Diego. They filled the void Nathan carved in my heart. Mia sat close, running her finger along the edge of the painting, never taking her eyes off me, like I was still the big sister from those beach nights. She just needed me to know I mattered. One night, Mia whispered, "I don't want to lose you, sis. You'll always be here for me, right?" Her voice was shaking, like she needed me to affirm a promise. In my paralyzed chest, a faint beat stirred, a tiny spark of hope. Mia believed I'd wake up. And because she believed, I started to believe. Mia kept that painting, She used it to capture emotions in art class. She had no idea it would become my weapon later. I didn't know how Mia stayed so late. Maybe Karen, the night nurse, looked the other way. Maybe fate opened a tiny window. Whatever the reason, no one stopped her, and I was grateful. Mia was there nightly, telling stories, humming, reminding me of a world I almost forgot. One night, when Mia was recounting the story of the paint spill, I focused every thought on my finger, trying to squeeze it 3 times, the SOS signal we used as kids. "You twitched your finger yesterday, just a little," Mia whispered, her eyes shining. "I know you can hear me." But it wasn't a win. My body didn't respond enough. Mia only saw a faint spasm. She smiled sadly, gently stroking my hand. "It's okay, sis. I know you're trying." My heart shattered. First contact, and I failed. Despair threatened to drown me in the darkness. But then, from deep inside, I felt a warm presence. My tiny baby. A primal, fierce strength surged. This time I focused every thought, not on asking for help, but on fighting. To protect my sister and my unborn child from danger. "I have to live for you, my baby," I whispered in my heart, forging determination from the pain. And in that exact moment, a flicker of light hit my dark mind. If not with my finger, then how? Did this paralyzed body hide another secret signal, one I hadn't even discovered yet? As Mia was about to leave, she stroked my hair and casually mentioned, "I used carnation blue for your painting. Do you like it?" And then, the miracle happened. Instantly, my heart rate on the monitor spiked 2 beats, then settled back down. The change was too small for the nurse to notice, but Mia, through an unconscious bond, felt a slight current pass through my hand. She frowned, whispering hopefully, "Did you react to the carnation blue, or the painting itself?" Mia wasn't giving up. She whispered, "I'll try again, sis. I know you're still there." Her words were a weak light, rousing strength in me. A few days later, Dr. Evans noticed something too. His voice changed, less clinical, more hopeful when talking to Mom on FaceTime. "She's responding. It's minimal, but it's enough. That's a sign." My mom cried, but her tears were different now. Lighter, brighter. By the 7th week, one of my fingers faintly curled, as if grasping Mia's promise. I didn't realize it, but somewhere in my subconscious I was reaching out to her. But in the hallway, Nathan's heavy footsteps echoed, louder than ever, signaling a storm was coming. Did you ever feel a small light flicker in the dark? I did. It wasn't physical, it was the ICU's rhythm. The nurses talking softer, Dr. Evans's voice less stressed, like the waves finally calming down on the San Diego shore. Mia's stories about her art class became vivid. Deep down, I started believing I wasn't gone forever. Then Nathan started showing up less. Maybe he heard the nurses whispering about my progress. His eyes flashed with a new fear, being exposed. That terrified him more than death itself. One day Nathan walked in, no tulips, no fake smile. He ignored the nurse and didn't even bother talking to my mom on FaceTime. He genuinely believed I was brain dead, and Mia was just a naive little sister, dropping his guard completely. Thinking the room was empty, he called Jessica. "I met with the lawyer, babe. The fake will guarantees me Clara's $5 million company. With that money, we'll have everything." He leaned down low, his voice turning into a cold monologue. "You know what? It was the same last time, that Sarah was just as gullible, trusted me, gave me everything, until she wasn't worth the trouble." He let out a soft chuckle. "But this time the prize is huge, a $5 million company, totally worth the patience." He added, full of self-satisfaction, "And the video of her accident will prove my innocence. No one suspects the devoted husband." He leaned in closer, his voice sharp as a late-night sea wind. "You think you're winning, Clara? You're not. I know you can't hear me. You're just lying here, a useless burden." Every word was an arrow through my heart. But that venom ignited a brutal resolve in me. I felt the ice block pressing on my chest. The education company I built for children was about to be stolen. For the first time, I wanted to scream. Not out of fear, but because Mia was right there. She was sitting beside the bed, just like every summer night. When she heard Nathan's voice, she froze, hunching over and clutching the painting that held a tiny audio recorder, a gadget she'd secretly turned on every night after hearing his previous dark mutterings. I felt her small body stiffen, her breathing shallow. Mia heard everything, and I did too. That moment was no longer a secret. It was a crack in the wall Nathan built, like light spilling through a keyhole. He wasn't alone in his cruelty this time. A brave young girl had changed everything, just by stubbornly staying by her sister's side all summer. That night, I didn't sleep, though I technically couldn't. Something shifted in the haze of my coma. My body was still heavy and mute, but my mind was screaming to protect Mia, to stop him. She had just witnessed what no one should ever see. Yet Mia was braver than anyone. She didn't cry. She didn't run. Not until Nathan left. I don't know how long it took her to recover from the terror, but I felt her trembling hand touch mine. "I'm sorry," she whispered, so softly I almost missed it. "I didn't mean to hide, but I was afraid he'd hurt you, or me." Mia stopped, stifling a sob. "I heard him say you should have died," she whispered, her voice shattering like glass. Then I heard her footsteps, fast, frantic, echoing down the hall. Urgent voices, Dr. Evans' deep, anxious tone. My mother's gasp on FaceTime, followed by a heavy silence as the air in the room changed. I heard Mia tell them everything. "He said she should have died," Mia cried, shaking. "He was going to do something to the machines. He was so angry. I think he wanted her gone." They asked again, gently, cautiously, not wanting to believe. But Mia didn't back down. She repeated every word, describing Nathan's face, his rage, how he stood over my bed like a man ready to pull the plug and walk away. Then Mia pulled out the painting. I didn't realize it then, but that small gift, the painting, was more than just paper and color. It had a micro recorder, which Mia borrowed from art class to record ideas. She turned it on nightly, suspicious of Nathan's cruel mutterings. They played the tape, and Nathan's voice filled the room, cold and sharp, just as I remembered. "You think I want to live like this? Chained to this hospital bed, wasting money on a lost cause? If she dies, everything is easier." My mom gasped, choking back tears. My dad muttered a curse over FaceTime. Dr. Evans said nothing, but I felt the change in him, like a smoldering fire ready to ignite. Paralyzed, I felt a flicker of hope, knowing Mia had begun to dismantle Nathan's plan. A line had been crossed. The evidence was in hand, but it was a ticking time bomb. Could the fragile plan of a sister and a mother be enough to fight a ruthless enemy and his growing web of conspiracy? And what would be the price of the truth? They called the police, but I heard Nurse Karen whisper in the hallway, "Nathan, I'm not sure this is going to end well." He knew my family needed me. What happens when the truth finally explodes? I couldn't see what came next, but I heard every single thing. Dr. Evans called Nathan, his voice urgent, saying there was a change in my condition, and they needed to meet privately. Nathan showed up the next day, looking annoyed but curious, walking into the ICU with that familiar sandalwood scent. He believed I couldn't react, and he saw Mia, the young sister who'd taken care of me all summer, as a clueless teenager, still treating this like a perfect performance opportunity. He had no idea he was walking into a trap. The police were waiting, along with Dr. Evans and Mia. Mia stood right by my bed, clutching her painting, her eyes blazing like a small fire in the dark. She spent her whole summer break here, replacing her careless brother-in-law, and she wasn't running now. A few days earlier, I had secretly whispered to Mia, "Get a recorder. Hide it in the carnations, the smallest one." Suddenly, Nurse Karen's footsteps squeaked nearby. Mia quickly adjusted my blanket, pretending to check on me. Karen narrowed her eyes, her voice sharp. "Is everything all right?" Mia nodded frantically, her heart pounding, fingers white-knuckled around the painting. Karen lingered for another moment, her gaze cutting like a knife, then walked away. I felt an ice-cold current run down my spine, balancing on a wire between life and death. Nathan laughed, a sneering sound. "What? You guys think I was serious? She's in a coma, for God's sake. You can't arrest me for just letting off some steam." But Dr. Evans didn't flinch. He looked Nathan straight in the eye, his voice low but sharp as steel. "You weren't just letting off steam. You were planning murder. And the only reason Clara is alive is because her little sister heard everything." Nathan froze, his face going pale like a criminal caught under a spotlight. Then he roared, his voice cracking with pure rage. "So what? You want me to waste my life next to someone who can't talk or move?" That's when the police stepped forward. They didn't need any more proof. The recording from the carnation bouquet played his icy voice. "She's done. If she dies, everything is easier." That was enough. But just as the officers moved to cuff him, Nathan suddenly snatched the bouquet from Mia and slammed it onto the floor. "Child's toy!" he screamed. The recorder flew out, smashing into pieces. For a split second, everything collapsed. Luckily, Evans was quick to block the door, and another officer quickly picked up the memory card from the wreckage. "Data is still intact," he said. The sound of handcuffs clicking echoed as Nathan was led away. For the first time since falling into the dark, I felt a deep, profound release in every cell, like a prison door swinging open. A few days later, I opened my eyes. The room was silent. The air was warm. Soft light streamed through the blinds, painting fresh yellow streaks on the floor. Beside me, Mia sat cross-legged on the chair, her eyes shining, tears sparkling like the stars over San Diego. "You're awake," she whispered, her voice trembling, as if a loud breath could shatter the miracle. I couldn't speak yet. My throat was dry, my lips cracked, but I forced a smile. When Mia took my hand, I squeezed back, a weak squeeze, but it held the weight of a month of fighting. Then, instinctively, my hand reached for my stomach. My baby." My voice was hoarse, weak, but filled with panic and hope. Evans walked over, understanding immediately. "The baby is fine, Clara. The heartbeat is strong." That was the first good news after 8 weeks of hell. Happy tears streamed down my cheeks, washing away all the pain and fear. It was just a small hand squeeze, but it was real. That first movement was a spark, setting off a cautious chain of hope. The next day I blinked on command, then came a nod, a clear breath, and a first raspy word. Mia took a deep breath, then burst into uncontrolled laughter, the tears following freely. She buried her head next to the bed, whispering between sobs, "I knew it. I knew you were still in there." I closed my eyes, this time not in fear or helplessness. I let myself sink into a peace I hadn't felt in forever, knowing the light had returned because of my little sister. The one person who never, not for a second, gave up. I was home. The days that followed were a blur of pain and tenderness. Every time I tried to wiggle a finger, I felt 1,000 pins and needles piercing my nerves. Swallowing a sip of water became agony as my throat muscles refused to obey. Some mornings I woke up feeling completely paralyzed again, my heart frantic, convinced all the effort was wasted. But Evan's patient gaze and Mia's believing smile always pulled me back. Every small movement, a purposeful blink, a flexing finger, was a silent victory bought with sweat and tears. Sound returned in layers, the machine beeps, the squeaky shoes, Mia's storytelling. The light felt too bright, my body felt foreign, like I'd been thrown into it without an instruction manual. But Mia was always there, never leaving my side. Mia repeated the stories I'd already heard, sometimes 2 or 3 times, but I never cut her off. Her voice was like sunshine warming cold skin. Whenever I drifted into exhaustion, I knew Mia was there, humming a song or whispering to her painting. That painting, the small gift she brought every night, became the symbol of our reunion, of the sisterhood found after years apart. The doctors were stunned by my progress, especially Dr. Evans. One morning, he stood by the bed, checking the monitor with a look that was half scientific, half something deeper. "You're stubborn, you know that," he said, a smile that was genuine, not just professional, lighting up his face for the first time. "But I think we both know that." I blinked slowly in reply. I still couldn't speak, but I didn't need to. He understood. Mia held my hand like it was hers, and in a way, it was. I owed Mia everything, not just for speaking the truth, not just for hiding the recorder in the carnations when she suspected Nathan. I owed her for the hope, the love, for seeing me when I'd forgotten who I was. "You remember me, right?" Mia asked one afternoon, her voice suddenly shy. "I mean, you couldn't speak before, but you heard me, right?" I tried to nod, my neck muscles still weak. I tilted my head slightly, my eyes sparkling like moonlight, recalling her art class stories. "I knew it. I knew you never left." She repeated it, softly but full of hope, like the twinkling stars over San Diego. But then I heard strange footsteps in the hallway, a familiar voice whispering, "There's one more way, Karen. We're not done yet." Has a simple question ever made your heart seize up? Mia looked at me, her eyes glistening like the early morning dew, and whispered, "We're sisters, right? I don't want to lose you again." My heart clenched, not from pain, but from an unspoken promise. I squeezed Mia's hand, feeling like I had found a missing piece lost over years of distance. That summer, when she took over my care, brought us back together. Mia didn't ask again. She just smiled, as if weeks of held-back emotion were finally released on a sunny San Diego patio. That night, when the room was quiet and the hallway light dim, I whispered my first words in weeks. "You saved me." My voice was rough, weak, like wind through an open window, but Mia heard it. Her small face froze, then broke into a blinding smile. "I told everyone," Mia breathed. "I knew you were still there." Dr. Evans walked in right after, checking the monitors. But I heard him arguing with Nurse Karen outside. "That dosage is wrong, Karen. Change it now." Faking weakness, I felt a familiar cold dread. I knew Nathan would push further. Then, the real horror hit. I overheard Nathan's voice, low and chilling, talking to Karen in the hall. $5,000, Karen. Adjust the meds. I want Clara gone by the weekend. Got it? I know where your family lives. Karen's shaky reply, I'll do it. He immediately called Jessica. "Karen took the money, babe. Clara's done for. We'll have the $5 million soon." I heard every word. My heart didn't just stop, it shattered. Hot tears streamed down my face, the only sign of my resistance. Dr. Evans walked in right after, checking the monitors. He saw how Mia clung to me, how I responded to her more than anyone else. He didn't ask questions, he just nodded, gently touched my shoulder, and said, "Looks like you two found each other." Evans cornered me when Mia left. "I'll protect you, Clara. I suspect Karen." Though I was paralyzed, I felt a fierce trust, like a small fire igniting in my core. Mia came back, trembling with fury, hiding the voice recorder in the carnation bouquet again. Nathan's footsteps echoed in the hallway. Mia accidentally dropped a flower, bending down to hide her action, her heart hammering. Nathan glanced over, suspicion burning in his eyes, but stepped into the elevator. Mia let out a long, shaky breath, her hands still trembling like leaves. It took another week until I was strong enough to sit up for 5 minutes. But when I finally did, the weight of everything hit me. Nathan was gone, arrested. My education company faced lawsuits. The news was going to be insane. The accounts were frozen for the investigation. The board appointed a legal supervisor. Nathan was never on any official papers. He thought marrying me was enough to own it all. The court disagreed. I had to start over. My reputation, my future, everything. But I wasn't scared, not with Mia's hand gripping mine. The scariest thing wasn't Nathan. It was the thought of what if Mia hadn't been there. If her small hand hadn't stubbornly held mine night after night, I might have let go long ago. Mia didn't save me with medicine. She saved me with her relentless presence, her quiet, selfless love, a lighthouse in the storm of my fate. A sister, once a stranger after years of being out of sync, had become my only true family. When the legal paperwork finished, I officially became Mia's guardian. Walking out of that hospital, holding her hand, felt like finding the missing piece of my soul. Mia looked up at me, her eyes holding a silent question. "We'll always be together, right?" I squeezed her hand, nodded, and smiled through happy tears. "Yes, sweetie, we're going home." We didn't have much, just a tiny apartment in San Diego, a temporary shared bed, and a dried carnation bouquet with a recorder inside, a sacred souvenir of the life and death journey we took together. Then one day, Evans delivered a shocker that broke the fragile peace. While helping me clear out the last of my things from the hospital, he found an encrypted data file from the smartwatch I wore that night, a hidden piece of evidence Nathan never knew about. The watch didn't just record audio, it held a short, blurred but clear video. Nathan opening the wooden crate of $20 million artifacts at the docks, the night I had my stroke. "This is the evidence the police need to convict him of the artifact smuggling," Evans whispered, his voice low. This evidence didn't just save my life. It exposed Nathan's entire criminal network. The ace in the hole was finally revealed. No longer insurance for a win, but a warning embedded in my heart. The ghost of the past was never truly gone. Yet, life started anyway. It was harder than I imagined, but simpler in a way I'd forgotten. No more high-stress meetings, no more corporate politics, no more pressure to be the perfect Instagram wife. Now I focused on the small things, making Mia breakfast, taking her to her new school, deep breaths when the nightmares hit, and learning to let the sunrise pass peacefully. Mia adjusted faster, turning the small apartment to a home with simple drawings taped to the fridge and the sound of an old radio playing acoustic tunes. But that peaceful night was interrupted. A strange text popped up on Mia's phone, shattering the calm. "Clara isn't free. Meet me at La Jolla Beach. midnight. Mia's small hand trembled, the memory of Karen's panicked eyes that last hospital night rushing back. Mia made the small apartment a home with simple drawings taped on the fridge and the paintings sitting on the couch like a friend. Sometimes she asked about Nathan, but never too much. She didn't want details, she just asked if he'd ever come back. "No," I said once, my voice hard as the rocks on the San Diego beach. "He won't." She never asked again. Dr. Evans, now just Evans, visited often, at first for checkups, but then it became coffee on the porch during Mia's nap, the San Diego sun filtering through the trees, a reminder of a new beginning. Have you ever sat down and talked about the scars you can't see? In those long afternoons on the porch, Clara and Evans talked about pain, about the guilt, about coming back when a part of you was left behind in the dark. Evans didn't push. He wasn't showy. He was comfortable with the silences, his eyes deep and warm like a cello playing at sunset. I remember the first time he brought food. Mia was drawing on the floor, tongue sticking out in concentration. I was struggling to fold clothes one-handed, trying to reclaim my big sister role after years of distance. Evans walked in, carrying a box from a little faux shop near the hospital. He gave a soft smile. "Guess you've had enough hospital food for a lifetime." I laughed. It hurt, but it was real. That genuine feeling meant I didn't have to pretend around him. I could finally shed the perfect facade I once wore on Instagram. Over time, gratitude morphed into something else. Slow, steady. A feeling that made me look forward to the quiet moments when Mia was napping, when we could talk like two people who'd seen too much but weren't afraid to start over. It wasn't love, not right away. It didn't need to be, but it was sincere, and sincerity was the rarest thing I had left. Evans was there when I went to court for guardianship. He held Mia's hand while I signed the papers, calming her fear about Mom being away and only having me to lean on. He hugged us both when the judge spoke the words I'd dreamt of for weeks. "Guardianship is approved." In that warm embrace, I suddenly remembered everything Evans had done. The sleepless nights analyzing the smartwatch data, the clandestine calls to the police, his unwavering gaze convincing the medical board to give me more time. He wasn't just a love interest. He was a partner who risked his reputation to stand with me. I had to ask, could a relationship built on such damage and risk ever truly be peaceful? Or would it always carry the ghost of the past? I squeezed Mia's hand, but one question still haunted me. Not about Nathan, but about Karen, the nurse who intentionally gave me the wrong dosage. I remembered Karen trembling, talking about her son's surgery. A coerced villain can be more dangerous than a cruel one. Was Karen the one who sent that text that night? Or was someone else still out there? I remembered the hospital days when Evans caught Karen's incorrect dosage and demanded an immediate change, his eyes furious but resolute, like a smoldering fire ready to erupt. He stopped Nathan and Karen's plot, protecting me when I faked weakness to trap them. The recorder in the carnation bouquet caught Nathan's final words. "Up the dose, babe. I paid Karen an extra $5,000, $10,000 total, to make sure Clara doesn't make it. We need that $5 million now, honey." Mia handed the tape to Evans. The police burst in the moment Nathan walked into the room, his face arrogant. "Nathan Thompson, you are under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder." The officer's voice was cold. Nathan turned pale, stammering, "I was just angry. This is a misunderstanding." Karen was shaking, stuffing the money into her uniform pocket, her eyes panicked, like someone exposed by a bright light. "My son, he needs heart surgery." Karen's voice cracked, but then she looked straight at me, tears streaming. "I'm sorry. Every time I injected the wrong dose, I was consumed by guilt. I became the person I once hated." The genuine remorse of the desperate single mother was clear in her red eyes. I sat up, eyes wet, my voice trembling but sharp. "You were wrong, Nathan. I heard everything. Every word you said to Jessica, every plan to kill me for the $5 million company. The recorder caught it all." Nathan froze, roaring. "You dared to fake weakness and set a trap for me? You will regret this." The police snapped the handcuffs shut. The clicking sounded like a symphony of victory. Evans stood still, gripping his chair, his eyes fixed on Nathan, as if protecting not just me but Mia's future. Karen slumped to the floor. Mia squeezed my hand, happy tears flowing. "He lost, sis." My mom cried over FaceTime, her voice bursting with emotion. "You are so strong." At the same time, at the San Diego airport, Jessica, the ex-assistant I once trusted, was trying to flee. But the police blocked her at the security gate, leading her away in handcuffs. More than just a mistress, Jessica was the architect of the company takeover. She had already drafted the stock transfer documents and planned to fire all employees loyal to me. Now, the co-conspirator sentence with Nathan awaited her. Later, when things settled, Evans became an indispensable part of our new life. He went with us to Mia's first art recital, where she stumbled presenting her painting but stood up with a radiant smile. He helped me overcome the panic attacks whenever the sudden beep of the coffee maker brought back hospital memories. He never made me feel damaged. One evening, when Mia fell asleep between us on the sofa, Evans looked at me, really saw me, and said, "You saved her life, but she absolutely saved yours." I nodded, eyes stinging, as if the San Diego sunlight had just touched a hidden part of my soul. Mia, the sister who spent her whole summer caring for me, reminded me how to live again after years of being lost. Evans reached out, taking my hand. "You don't have to do this alone anymore. Not a proposal, not a promise. Just an invitation." And I accepted, without saying a word. That night, I realized something no pain could take away. Love doesn't arrive like a tsunami. It's like the moonlight, silently illuminating the darkest corners. I was ready. But in my eyes, one question still lingered. Did the ghost of Nathan truly vanish? Who is the one who stays when the stage lights dim? Evans wasn't just the doctor standing by Clara in the sterile room. He was the partner. There when the camera lenses disappeared, changing diapers at 3 a.m, learning to braid Mia's hair without a complaint, his eyes gentle like the stars in the La Jolla sky. He didn't fill the void Nathan left. He didn't try to. He helped Clara build something entirely new. Like Mia's paintings, every brushstroke a new beginning. One afternoon, Mia walked into the kitchen, holding the painting, the gift she brought every night during the summer she cared for Clara, a symbol of their reunion after years apart. The colors on the paper had faded, one corner slightly crumpled, but the dried carnation bouquet, where the recorder was once hidden, sat on the shelf as a reminder of the journey they overcame. She climbed onto a chair, gently placed the painting on the table, and looked up at Clara. "You remember what he said, right?" Clara knew what she meant. She hadn't listened to the recording from the trial again. It was used as evidence, sealed in the file, locked away. But Mia still kept the painting. Not to remember the pain, but to remind her that they found each other, that summer saved them both, like the twinkling lanterns at the La Jolla festival. "I remember," Clara said softly. Mia nodded. "I don't want to forget, because it means you came back to me, to us sisters." Clara bent down, kissed her forehead, and whispered, "That's right." They didn't play the recording again, but they didn't throw the painting away either. It sat on the shelf in Mia's room, next to the dried carnation bouquet, and a framed picture of the three of them on La Jolla Beach under the starry sky, a testament to their reunion journey. Sometimes Clara caught Mia looking at it, not with sadness, but with strength. The painting and the bouquet witnessed the darkest moments. When Nathan ran his finger along the ventilator tube, his eyes icy. Just one button, the machine stops, no one will suspect. But Evans pushed the door open, his voice stern. "Nathan, what are you doing here?" Nathan snatched his hand back, stammering, I was just checking." Clara, feigning weakness, felt life and death were separated by a single thread, her heart hammering. Clara stood silently by the window, watching children draw outside the art center, every stroke like redrawing the fragments of herself. Clara remembered the moment Nathan was led away, the clicking of the handcuffs, an affirmation that she and Mia had won. She no longer ran the education company, but her art center brought new meaning to the children of San Diego. Yet, Nathan's ghost still haunted her, startling her with the sound of handcuffs or the image of his sneer. Mia and Evans fueled hope with smiles and encouragement. 6 months later, Clara and Evans released lanterns at the La Jolla Light Festival, singing "This Land is Your Land" with an acoustic guitar. Evans held Clara's hand, saying, "You are stronger than you think," his eyes full of genuine affection, like the moonlight illuminating the darkness. Clara smiled, feeling her new family like lanterns soaring high in the San Diego sky. People often ask Clara how she survived, how she came back after everything. The answer was always the same. Someone stayed. Not the strongest, the richest, or the most powerful. A little sister, a carnation bouquet, a summer of not giving up, and a love that found her when she thought she was lost forever. She woke up every day to Mia's giggles, the feeling of Evan's hand brushing hers as he poured coffee, the warmth of a new family wrapped around her. Mia once said, "Family isn't always born. Sometimes it's built, like how we found each other, despite Nathan and Jessica's plot." She was right. Their family was built on truth, on pain, on healing, on love. And then the greatest victory came one morning in the ultrasound room. Clara held Mia's hand tightly as the doctor pointed to the screen. "The baby's heartbeat is strong, Clara. The baby is developing well." Clara smiled through happy tears. The real victory wasn't Nathan's 25-year sentence, but the new life growing inside her, proving that love and resilience could triumph over all evil. In the end, it was the life Clara never saw coming, the life she never knew she needed, but would forever be grateful for, like the golden sunspots dancing on the water early morning. This isn't just a story about betrayal or revenge. It's about healing, starting when someone sees you at your weakest and still stays. About second chances, chosen family, and the silent strength of kindness, which asks for nothing but gives everything. Because sometimes, you don't need the whole world to believe in you. You just need one person to whisper, "We're sisters, right?" And that can change everything. From a fragile 3% chance, Clara triumphed over her own husband's plot to kill both mother and child. But thousands of other vulnerable lives are still crying out in silence. If you believe that maternal love and justice must speak up, subscribe now to help us spread light to the untold stories. Every subscription is a promise. The truth will never be muffled. In your opinion, which of Nathan's crimes was the most cruel, greedy smuggling, or the malice to kill his own unborn child?